One, two, three, four, five, live. Good morning. Uh, we did not get to doing any big streams this weekend in terms of moving the ball forward on some of our goals. Uh, Kind of a shame. Uh, I just ended up just not being in the mood, but hopefully we'll be able to make it up this week. Happy Monday. Congratulations on making it through the week or making it through the weekend. Time to get back to back to the grind. Let's see. It's going to be a short stream this morning. Don't have necessarily anything on the docket that I want to talk about in particular. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. A lot of mass shootings, which is just fucking terrible. Uh, Super, I only have so much time before work. Uh, we also have the budget. I think the budget's due today. Consensus on the budget. Uh, when does the government shut down? Some of pass appropriate bills. Government shutdown looms. Let's see. Begin October 1st. So we got till Wednesday. I thought that seems long. First thing Wednesday morning. Okay. I thought it was going to be like today. I thought that's how the timeline worked out, but October 1st uh, makes sense, I guess, in terms of just like being on the calendar, be like first day of October. It'd be weird to have it end on like the 29th of September. It's just like it's not the end of the month, it's not the beginning of the month. Uh, that is interesting. I wish we could see more into that. What is the at least see if there was I think we were able to see previous days. Now adjourn, Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah, nothing there. Still, oh, they'll be back. No, I think they're coming back later in October. Yeah, I don't think we missed anything. Yeah, this was Friday. Wow, didn't do anything since, from Tuesday to Friday. Yeah, September 26th. I remember us watching that. Mm, all right. Yeah, it was kind of a bummer to not, do anything this weekend. Opportunity lost, but we have 38 years to make progress. So, you know, not gonna sweat one weekend. How was that Warframe stream? That was just brutal, wasn't it? Played for an hour and I was like, oh yeah, I don't really like video games. I always forget. Those are the times where I need to really lock in and just sit down and start looking for something because I find that, you know, when I'm indecisive in moments like that where it's like, oh, I want to do something, I want to make progress on something. If I just sit down and start a project, I'll usually get into the project. Doesn't matter what it is, but I'll enjoy it. Video games are just like, there's not much, there. Because the big thing with me is like I can spend like 6 hours playing a video game, right? If I'm in the mood. But after that 6 hours, I'm like, damn, I really just wasted 6 hours. Video games just don't, they don't do anything for you. There's no progress unless you want to, take achievement from how well you do in the game, or global leaderboards or whatnot, or if it's like Minecraft and you get satisfaction out of building something. But I don't. I see it and I'm like, okay, this is what has this done for me? Another thing that I was considering is I should do some more programming. I went to school or for computer science. I used to build a lot, uh, do, do a lot of software projects. Ever since I started in my new job, uh, a lot of that I haven't done that in a long time, at least in like a month or two. So I'm like very rusty. Uh, I'm probably even rustier than I imagined because I've been using a lot of ChatGPT for a lot of my projects. The difference is I'm actually really good at using ChatGPT. Like I can build pretty substantial projects because I have a good workflow for using ChatGPT. Like the thing is if you're going to use ChatGPT to like build software of like any sort of size, you have to A, define your requirements really well, where very well defined, be very specific of how it should work, and you should focus your Chat GPT session on a very very small portion of code, and repeat that process. You don't build an entire component on ChatGPT. You just build certain functionality in ChatGPT, and then you copy and paste that together to build out your full, you know, script or whatever you're working on. Uh, And when you do it like that, it's a lot easier for ChatGPT to remember all the specifics you give it. And as you add on to it, it doesn't forget all the previous work you've done. It takes a lot longer compared to like just having ChatGPT one shot the entire thing, but usually the product comes out better and it behaves the way you want it. So could we could do that. I have the tools to do that. Uh, you know, Depends on what we want to build. I could build a website. I do have a project that I was working on previously. It was like an open source intelligence uh, aggregator, and it used this graph component called Neo4j, which is a really cool tool for. It's a database, but it's really good at visualizing graph data. So it's able to visualize like nodes and the relationships between nodes, and has a really cool UI for interacting with your graph of knowledge or with data. And that was a really cool project. Uh, you know, Especially with what we're doing now traditionally on streams, I think that would be pretty worthwhile to build out and really, really, uh, button it up and you know, commit to it. Uh, the only problem I have with it is like data normalization. So like you can have, let me pull up a text document. Uh, so the problem I was having is that, in some news sources, you can have an entity. So our entity will be United States of America. But this entity, can be named a bunch of different things. It can be the US, it can be the U.S, it can be the U.S.A. It can be United States. It can be the United States of America. And the problem that I was having was that I'm pulling in information from all these different sources, right? And every time they might use a different version or a different name for this entity. Uh, and the current problem I was having was how do I correlate all of these different aliases for this entity to this ground truth value? And there's some packages that somewhat do that. Uh, I really think the only way that I could really think of right now is to build like a map and be like, okay, basically just like a JSON dictionary. So it'd be like US, right, or whatever I want the name of the node to be, and then just have this be, another list of aliases. Fuck. Forget this is not a text editor. Well, not a like programming text editor. And basically just have these basically like this and kind of do like a reverse mapping. So like look for any of the values. I get a keyword out of an article and I go through this map and I go through, all right, is this value part of any values in my dictionary? And if it is, use the key for that dictionary for that entity and work backwards. The only problem with that is it's very manual. I can't really automate it. I have to build out this map myself. So anytime, there would be a lot of like manual review, which maybe that's the best way to go about it you know, to maintain consistency, in my graph, because that's the other thing. That's the main reason this is a problem is that, I have this one entity, United States of America, that's just one node in my graph, and I want to find all the relationships to it. Well, anytime that there's a relationship drawn to one of its aliases, that's going to be a separate node. So they're going to be disjoint from each other. So you're not going to have a really complete looking graph. If all the relationships for US were attributed to United States of America, that single node would have all of those relationships from it. And if you don't know what that looks like, can I do? Is there Paint? Do I still have Paint? I think they got rid of Paint. Paint 3D will work. Let's see. Can I do? I've never. I don't think I've used Paint. So this would be US, right? And it has relationships to these nodes. So say this is US and it has ties to these other entity nodes or relationships, what have you. The problem is if I have a node that is, United States of America, its relationships should be the same as this node, or this relationship right here should be on this node, but you know, because this one is United States of America and this one is US, they're two separate nodes, so the relationships they're not on the same node. Like if I wanted to really analyze the relationships for United States of America, I would have to look for all of its aliases separately. But with this mapping idea, I would take this line, which I don't think I can grab. This line would basically be drawn like this, and then this node would go away. And then I would have this full graph that was, for that specific entity that I wanted to track. So that's like the current problem that I have with it. I might just go back and rebuild that graph. Uh, it's kind of tough because I built a really cool automated process for like recursively looking into different people using like, I think it's like Wiki People or something like that, or Wiki Business or something, where it's like you can have, Chevron as a company and you can get all the affiliated like C-suite people, and you can get information on those people, like where they went to school, other job titles, other positions, and basically I did that for all the companies that I gathered from various news articles, and built it out like that. I also had a connection to the Open Law Project to get all the dockets that were coming through, and that one was really cool. That one was kind of like a continuous feed, and we would pull, we would do entity extraction. It's called NER. It's a named entity recognition, and we would run that on the docket title for the case. So it'd be like the people versus Enron or whatever. That's, just an example. But, it would pull Enron and it would pull, the United States. That's usually what the language is. It's like the United States versus uh, company X, and it would pull those entities out. It would pull out the judges. I forget what information was included with that API. I got special access to some of the court documents, but I would have to check if I still have access. It's been a while since I've done this. I haven't used that API since December, so I would have to check. But that would be something that would be cool to have running on my server on the side. Uh, Especially once I got this mapping figured out, because then we could really build a pretty detailed graph, and we could query it, and we could see, do we have, this person we're looking into, for whatever reason, are they part of this graph? We can see who their relationships are. We can check political donations because that's something we check. We checked, I forget what the specific filing is, but whenever you make a political contribution, that is uh, tracked by FEC, Federal Election Committee. Uh, 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 Federal Election Commission. Yeah. So anytime you make a political contribution, whether it's like to a PAC or whatever, or if a company makes a contribution to a PAC, you can track, who donated, how much they give, the year they gave, and that would be really cool. The only problem with, those large sources of data is that it takes a long time to parse and take in all that data, and it takes up a lot of space, obviously. So that's something we would have to test pretty thoroughly, and we would have to get it to uh, we'd have to get it to run pretty well, and then we would just have it run passively on my server. And if we could connect to it, on like a web page, uh, and set up my computer to host it, that could be really interesting. Because I have a website hosted on that server right now. It's on that server. That's right. That's where it's running. There's some issues when you host things locally. You're not able, like, if I pull up a web browser right now, I can't navigate to that PC because I'm on the same Wi-Fi that it's hosted on, and it's not able to resolve the domain. Uh, so that's an issue. Because I was gonna say it'd be cool if we were able to pull up a website and like view the graph, on stream because it's on a different machine. I could run it on my laptop, but the problem is, it needs to run 24/7 to pull in all that data. So we could run it on that machine. If I can open up the port maybe to the database server, maybe we can connect to it through this machine, and we can open, like, if we download Neo4j on this, maybe we could connect in and view that database. I don't know how that would work. That might take some little hackery to get it to work, but that might be an option. Uh, it really does depend. Plus, I don't know how much resources are being taken up on that computer. It might slow it down quite a bit, but I think that would be very worthwhile, especially as we follow, breaking news. I said I didn't want to do topical stuff, but topical stuff is easier to dive into. Uh, we could go back to analyzing legislation, which we can do once it's back in session. But we have these 2 week down, you know, these 2 week periods of downtime where there's nothing happening, uh, in Congress. So we can use that time to focus on topical stuff or things that are in your area. There's a lot of options on how we can play it if we want to. But that is one of the projects I've worked on that I've been thinking about ever since I started doing these streams. I think it would be really could be very useful for what we do. Go ahead and delete this. But but yeah, that would be a good way to take, to work on the weekend. Get me back into programming. I haven't programmed in a while, so I do a lot of data analysis. Uh, not, I shouldn't say analysis, but I do a lot of writing SQL at work. Uh, it's not particularly, like in my job definition, but it helps. So, I can I can write good SQL. I enjoy writing SQL. But yeah, it's about time I get back to work. Uh, yeah, it was just a short stream. Just wanted to, you know, recap the weekend and talk about, what could be going on. Uh, I might stream after work. I have to do some meal prep today because I didn't do it yesterday. Or at least that's what I'm planning on doing, and that usually takes a while. So we will see what happens after work. I could wait and do that tomorrow, but yeah, that might I might push it off if I do it tomorrow. So I'm gonna try and do it today. I think today would be the most appropriate time to do it. But uh, but we will see. We're playing it by ear. Hopefully there's something that I can comment on on Instagram. I did that over the weekend. There's an account called Fearless Debates. They're the ones that got kicked off that campus. I don't know if you saw that viral video. Uh, Fox News posted it, of course. But at first I was like, they said that they got kicked off, or Fox News said they were being escorted off campus because they didn't have the proper permission from the school to do a tabling event. Which I was like, all right, yeah, you should work with the school to have an official event. Considering all of the how many people showed up, to protest. Uh, but then I saw the video on their side, and yeah, they just got ran out of the school. So that was unfortunate. But I still think giving people a heads up, especially with these kinds of events that are becoming more popular, these stand-up debates, I think it's kind of unfair to show up unannounced and expect people to have, rational responses. Not rational, but like good responses, have a good debate, because they haven't had any time. You're picking people off the street and asking them, what they think about stuff. And it's like, I don't think about it all the time. I know I don't agree with it, but if you give me, a week to prepare an argument for it, I'll have a better argument than I do right now. You know what I mean? I feel like it's way more fair that way. If you really care about debates, which I know that's not the point. The point is to make these videos that, show you winning a debate against someone that's not prepared or not prepared. And the biggest thing is like what they really want to see is like people get super emotional and super charged about an issue because they're flustered. They care very deeply about this thing, whatever they're talking about. And they don't have they haven't prepared an argument for it because they didn't think they were going to have to defend their beliefs, and then they get very flustered and get very angry, and that's usually what like a gold mine for the videos standpoint for views. But I think people should get a heads up so they can prepare themselves to make that engagement. Uh, but anyways, I gotta hop off. I gotta get ready for work, so uh, I will see you tomorrow morning maybe, but maybe after work. I don't know. Have a good day. Let's take care of business. Monday, let's get after it. You know, let's win today. Let's win.